Welcome, everybody, to the Modern Pipeliner podcast. Today's guest is Michael Kiernan, and he comes from overseas to bring you some pretty cool technology. I think a lot of people could respect in the IT space and in the energy space. I think it can be utilized. And let's just get right into it and start asking the questions. So, Michael, what is your story, your resume, and how did you get to here?
Well, I guess it probably starts with what I went into college to do. I started a business before that, but kind of had nothing to do with what I'm doing now. It was around motorcycles. But I went to college and I did a course called Geomatics, and that was centered around digitizing the real world into kind of softwares and that kind of thing. So using kind of hardware to capture reality and then inputting it into a software. So that was kind of the 4 years. And then straight out of college, I created a company which was a lot to do with 3D scanning, and that was taken over then by a smart lighting company. So they bought out the company, and I helped them then transition and implement this kind of 3D technology in their own business. And then after those about 2 years, then I went out again on my own, and I'm doing something a bit more broad and at scale now at this stage, and kind of breaking into the US at the minute.
Very good, very good. Now, when did you become passionate about this focus?
Um, I'd say it was probably 2014, 2015. I'd seen some snippets of these kind of 3D technology, 3D scanning technologies, and they were all quite antiquated and difficult to work with. And then they kind of started coming out with these kind of mobile units, which were really user friendly, and that kind of caught my attention. They were very visual, and I think with people more and more focused on visuals, with YouTube and all the TikToks and all the rest of it, I think that really just caught my eye, and I saw that this could have massive potential in use cases in many different industries. And I think from then on, I kind of really became laser focused into that one area.
Very good, very good. Yeah, I've always been a lover of 3D, if you will. I'm
Yeah.
kind of an artist by nature, and 2D, 3D, I love it. And even recently, I've been trying to learn things like Unreal Engine, where I can, manipulate and move these characters about. So I
Yeah,
appreciate
I
what
think
you're working on.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, like, we have transition of obviously the paper, then we went into 2D kind of digitization, and now I think we're kind of more coming on to 3D, and because it's just so much more visual. And I think for it's a lot less of a learning curve to have something that's 3D and as if you were there,
Yeah,
and to understand the facility or where you're at or the quantities or something, if it's just right in front of you as if it was there in person. And I think that's the way things are going.
yeah, yeah. I'm just I'm learning these things to eventually get into the augmented reality as well. I feel like
Mm.
it's just step by step. You got to learn each little piece to get to that point. But I feel like it's going to be a massive market um, here soon.
Yeah, yeah,
It's already upon us.
we we've actually done a few projects in with regards to energy meters even. Where we go in and we'll scan an actual facility, and then you go up to your energy boards or something that's drawing energy even, and we have sensors then that are co-linked with the 3D model, and then that then reads the data back to you. You can either be augmented or in the virtual space.
Yeah,
If you're on site, you can use your phone and just navigate, and then it'll tell you all that data and information. And that's good for diagnostics and
yeah,
engineers on site as well.
yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, we in hydro testing in pipeline, it's very dangerous to be around these pressures. And
Mm.
so, anything you can do to, let's say, set up a camera and kind of limit your exposure to
Yeah,
extreme pressures, these things are valuable, save people's
yeah,
lives and things like that. So if you're working in that
yeah.
space, it might be a good transition into it.
Yeah, we've seen that obviously even in just cutting costs and having to revisit places as
Yeah,
well. I mean, obviously the safety is probably a lot more important than that, but
exactly.
being able to just have a complete digital twin of the area
Yeah,
that for what you're talking about there
yeah,
would seem very important.
right.
And just being able to being able to access that from the cloud as well. So
Yeah,
anywhere, it doesn't matter if you're from you know in Ireland, let's say where I am, or in the US, you're all kind of working from the same thing, and you're able to have insight then from many technicians, and not just the technician who was on site as well, which is important.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think there might be some good mixing there that you could do. Let's see here. Now, when you first started this business, what's something that's more challenging than you had expected?
I would say it's challenging to get people to adopt new technologies, and I don't say that in a bad way, but it's trying to move them from their current, the current way that they work,
Yeah,
and trying to adopt a new technology into that. That can be quite difficult at times because they have something that works, and yes, well, you might come in and you might make that more efficient and more cost effective, and but there's a lot that I understand from the client side that has to happen to enable your new technology to come in, training and
yeah,
other instances. They may have set up a lot of automations or a lot of kind of, this could have been the way they've working for the last 10 years.
yeah,
And then to come in and radicalize that can be challenging. And I think that that's definitely something that that I've faced, is that even though you might be, offering something that's a lot better than what's there previously and more efficient and more cost effective, it's still that barrier of, okay, well, this has to be integrated some way, and you might have to start integrating it at a very slow pace to get it in use.
yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to, let's say, set up training modules and all these things. I mean, it all takes time while you're building your apparatus and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, and you have to I don't know, not sympathize mightn't be the right word, but you have to empathize maybe with
yeah,
who you're working with, and to understand that their issues, in that, like, you can't just say this is better and all of a sudden
yeah,
comes in it's better. They have a lot of other processes that are going on in the background as well, that everything has to gel and work together. And so, and also it has to be used, there has to be, they're taking in some way a risk in their mind, whereas in my mind it might be a risk, but in their mind they're saying, you know we actually have to start really using this for it to become, actually cost effective for us.
yeah. What are some good life lessons that you've learned from the industry?
Um, Maybe, I don't know if it's from the industry, but definitely from being in business. I
Yeah,
think one of the things I talk to, I actually speak to a lot of people from my course that I did in college that are kind of graduating
yeah,
and looking to do similar things. I always kind of say, everything takes a little bit longer than what you think it's going to take.
yeah,
It's that, and that's the way, you think you're going to get it done in a year or 6 months, or even down to the little things. You think you're going to get the client will pay in 2 weeks, and it takes 4 weeks. Everything everything takes a little bit longer than maybe you would want it to take. But I think if you have that little bit of patience, then that things will start to work in your favor.
yeah. Yeah, extreme patience, if you will.
Mm,
It's a
yeah.
lot of self mastery you have to work on in business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
A lot more than you could ever imagine, to be honest.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you don't really think of when you go into business. Sometimes, it's not actually I think at the start anyway, you're not busy all of the time, but you're actually, even though you're still working, you're busy thinking. A
Yeah,
lot of the work is actually, okay, let me think about this, and what way should I go about this? And you might spend, 2 or 3 of the hours of the day actually doing physical work, or actually doing work that gets monetary value, and then the other 4 to 5 hours are actually spent just, okay, let me just brainstorm about all these issues that are happening, or maybe not issues but things you want to happen and how you go about them. So that also needs patience as well, because you need sometimes 2 or 3 months to implement something yourself, and then you might take another 3 to 4 months for it to start working.
Yeah, and continuous learning as well while you're doing all this. What coworkers were the greatest contributors to your character?
Well, I actually I was maybe a bit stubborn, and I went straight from college out on my own.
Yeah.
And didn't have too many actual coworkers, but I have worked with my father for many years. We have a motorcycle dealership as well here in Dublin that I've worked with for the last 5 or 6 years from the ground up.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of my work ethic and how I do things has definitely been derived from him, and I would take a lot of inspiration from him and his ability and what he's done over the last 35 years.
Very good. Very good. Now, what is your worst and best project, or maybe worst and best pieces of your project that you've worked on?
Worst, maybe I should start with the positive. um, I think the best projects that I'm involved with are probably more of where I'm involved early on in something, and I have a bit more of a bird's eye view of a larger project, and being able to make an influence on a project like that to make things go. Because I found that when I'm, particularly with Geomaus and what we're doing, I found that we work best when we're really brought in even before any kind of work has been done, or kind of a planning, and to kind of bounce ideas off, and then from that, then we can come up with these solutions that really benefit from like the very, very start of the project till the literally handover or completion of the project. And when we get in at that level and kind of consult and talk with whoever, it might even be all of the, say, the client, but also all of the third parties who are involved, to get them all involved as well, really is probably the best bit. And then I would probably say the other side of that is probably the worst bit, is when the client is kind of maybe just comes up, okay, here's a job and just do it, and then all of a sudden it changes scope once you've done it, and then you're kind of saying, well, if you told me this before you'd started, then things would have been, and then it's all back and forth and the usual trying to scramble and get things to how they should have been.
Communication boils
yes
down to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What's something about your industry that has surprised you in recent years?
I'd say in recent years, probably the rapid growth in terms of, maybe not in terms of my company personally, but in terms of people actually having an interest in it. I think when I started probably 6 years ago, when I was going around and showing people and trying to introduce it, they had no idea. They didn't. They actually had never seen anything like it before, and they'd never even thought it could be useful. And then now, as I approach people, they kind of go, oh yeah, I kind of seen something like this before, and oh, this would be really helpful. And they're probably a bit more adapting now, which is funny, because probably if they gotten on at the start, they'd be a lot further ahead. But I think that's kind of normal. Once everyone kind of finds something that works, they all jump on the bandwagon, I guess, a little bit, and they all want to hop on. Other people have kind of maybe done the trial and error for them, and they're able to come on. But that's probably the most surprising thing, is that, like, I think in the last number of years is definitely the awareness around kind of geospatial technologies and 3D technologies, and actually them having an actual use case rather than just looking cool.
It's very painful being innovative, because
absolutely.
you have these beautiful ideas and you do all this work, and then here it is. I did this thing. You think everybody would just, hey, yeah, let's do that. It's a great thing. I think it's going to be great. Instead, it's like, I've never seen this before. It's not how we do things, you
Yeah.
know. And it's like, guys, this is great for you, but
Yeah, and I
okay,
think on those, when you have all those ideas as well,
yeah,
like I've had a lot of clients that like we've produced the 3D scanning and all the drawings and also the reality capture, and then they have all these things that they're, oh, we got this done over here and we got this done over here, and then I'm kind of going, why did you do that? You've already paid for this, and it would only have cost you a couple of $100 to get that all done, and you could have used this the same way. I think when you have so many ideas, you think that, oh, they will all of a sudden see it as well. But I
right,
think a lot of times you still need to you need to nearly like force it down the neck. This it can do. Oh, you can also do this, and it can do this, and you can do this. This is where your savings are coming from.
yeah,
You introduce it this way. You come in one way where you have an actual existential need for one of the services that you provide, and then on top of that, then you say, okay, come back to me when we're completed this, because I'm going to tell you about 4 or 5 other things that are going to save you a lot of money, and you're also going to help you as well.
very good, very good. Do you have any big projects on the horizon or any big news coming up soon?
Uh, News, we have a quite substantial kind of software updates, I guess, coming to our back end, which add a huge amount of features to our prior existing clients, and then obviously coming down into new clients. We have a number of new hotel projects coming up as well, which are very interesting. We've been working a lot within the hospitality sector, which has been an interesting one that I wouldn't have really seen from the start.
Yeah.
And there seems to be a massive amount of different ways we can look at things and use things in that sector. We've big hotels, which can be interesting to scan, because when it's such a large space, it poses challenges, but those challenges are interesting. I think for me, that I think the bigger the project is now, the more excited I am about it, because it kind of needs a bit more thought and thinking around the full planning of the project.
Very cool. What is something positive about you outside of work that most familiar with you would not know?
That's an interesting question. I would say something positive about me. I'm probably quite easygoing. I think when people come into me at work, I think a lot of the stuff I do is quite engineering heavy, and it can be quite, all these different jargon words and very serious, and a lot of litigations and different insurance and this and that. So I think outside of that, I think maybe because of work and how stressful it is, I'm quite easygoing and quite relaxed. After that, it's nothing is really a big deal. So I'd say that's something I'd say that the people who work, or clients that work with me, probably don't see.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think being in business and creating something that's lasting, you got to develop an extreme patience, like we were talking about earlier, and you just and then even for me, like let's say raising my kids, you have to be extremely patient. And so like having business, and we actually homeschooled 3 kids while me and my wife built a 6 and 7 figure business.
Wow.
And so it's I'm kind of like you. I'm very vanilla kind of,
Yeah.
hey, it is what it is. If there's a problem, that's great. Here's
Yeah.
solutions, and
Yeah.
you just can't be letting your emotions get so tied up in things like I used to. I used to be quite a live wire, but you know,
Yeah, I think business in general, I think as you deal with things, your progression when you've been in business for numbers of years, you've dealt with very stressful situations
yeah,
and kind of issues that you think are, oh my God, how am I going to get over this?
yeah,
So when those little things in life that maybe sometimes, if you think previous before your business, you would have really freaked out about,
yeah,
I think now you just kind of just water off a duck's back kind of thing.
yeah,
It's just nothing is really that isn't that big of a deal. You know, and certainly I get that when, you know, I'm talking to friends and so on, they kind of have these issues, and I'm kind of like, you know, don't worry about that now. It's not that big a deal. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I've certainly dealt with worse. So, you know, these things that hit you in your everyday life, which I think is probably good, because you don't end up stressing so much. But I do think the reason why you don't end up stressing so much is because you've stressed so much at a prior instance in your life. So I think it's, you know, ups and downs.
Yes. Now, what's an industry topic that you could spend maybe a few minutes speaking on that the audience could find some value in?
I think 3D technologies I could probably go on about, and all of the different use cases that they could have. You know, I think even just before this, we were talking with, you know, in terms of energy,
Yeah.
and in terms of, you know, remote locations, and those type of things probably most interesting to maybe your listeners, and being able to, you know, lessen the let's say the danger of doing different sorts of work, and also lessen the time spent in doing the work as well, is something I could go over. You know, to really be able to have a full, you know, photorealistic 3D digital twin of an area or a piece of equipment or something like that, it's just invaluable when you start using it properly. And to be able to have it, I think a lot of things as well, to be able to have it in the cloud and being able to access with a lot of different technicians, because I think different people think about things differently. And when you have an issue or a problem that you want to solve, or say something has gone wrong on one of these you know, locations, to be able to have 3 or 4 guys or girls come in and really brainstorm before even reaching the place, also
Yeah.
preparing, you know, what they might need and all that kind of stuff. It makes things a lot easier. And I think it's something that's really cool and useful. And yeah, there's other than all the other use cases of it, you know, for also your AR use cases and your VR use cases
Yeah.
with monitoring and IoT devices, you know, for energy, is also a really interesting aspect of it.
Yeah. So in oil and gas or pipeline, midstream, there's, you know, generally you'll have some facilities and stations, and you'll have a group of guys that maintain and girls that maintain these stations, and
Mm.
a lot of pipelines coming in and out of there, you know. So if you had a virtual uh, 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 view of all
Digital
of that.
twin or view,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Um, because you know, usually those people are maintaining that, but you'll have, let's say downtown, you'll have a skyrise building with a bunch of engineers in that, you know, if they could see the same thing that those people see on the ground, you know, then you got those minds involved
yeah,
in what's going on in these
yeah.
stations with technicians out there. I mean, maybe there's you know, a lot more. It'd make the whole process more safe, and
Yeah,
like,
we've had a
yeah,
lot of that as well, where we've, you know, the kind of maybe at HQ or talking to people on the ground,
yeah,
and we have these a lot of the times they have these HQ issues, so they'll have like things that need to be resolved, and maybe those little nodes or areas or facilities,
yeah,
and they actually go in and they tag it, so they can go in and virtually tag it and write up a description of what needs to be
yeah,
done, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
they do that from HQ, and then someone go on site and they can mark that as done. So we have like a
yeah,
snag listing system that you can resolve, and it can be done the other way around as well. So, like, say
yeah,
for example, a technician on the ground finds something in the building or the little facility that needs to be changed or updated or maintained. Again, they can send the message back directly to HQ with an image or with a something attached to it, and they can communicate that way very, very quickly. You know, we've done a lot of things with that. That's kind of more maybe facilities management
yeah.
and update of facilities in general. But it's also something very important.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great usage for sure. Do you have any upcoming networking events, book, product, invention, service that we can help you promote to the audience?
We hold a few kind of I guess seminars, I guess what they'll be called, and you're done through my LinkedIn.
Okay.
So we kind of just invite people who, they mightn't be clients of ours now, or they might be clients if they want to learn new things, but people maybe on the outside just wanting to have a look in at what's the deal with all this technology Michael's talking about.
Yeah.
And we just go over in about a 30-minute seminar. I show new things happening in the industry, and then we just open up to questions. A lot of it's just questions then at the end, based
Yeah.
on what we've shown. And then from that feedback, then I'll speak back of how the technologies can be used and to benefit them specifically. So we find that those are probably
Perfect.
most helpful for anyone out there.
Perfect. Perfect. And so what would be the best way for the audience to support you and get in contact? Would it be LinkedIn or?
Yeah, it would be LinkedIn or just via the website. They can contact through the website as well, if they want to get involved with that, or just directly in LinkedIn. Again, just pop me a message. It's usually the easiest way.
Sure, sure. And so how do you spell the website out fully?
It's geomaus.com. It's geomaus.com.
Perfect, perfect. Now, uh, this kind of concludes the episode, and I appreciated the time that we spent together. I think it was a great conversation. I think your tools are going to be very much needed in the future, especially with the way the market's going. So I'm gladly going to promote you, and I hope to do some networking with you here in the future.
Well, Tim, I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on, and I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, Mike.
All right, best of luck. Okay, so this is just usually how our clients or so on would come in, and they come to our website, and then they kind of have their dashboard that they can log into in the back end. So just log in here. So they get this kind of dashboard, and when they go to projects, this is all the projects that they have with us. So let me just
Cool.
go to, and then from that, then these can all be see, here's one in North Carolina, and then we've one in Ohio, and then we've a few in Las Vegas and some in Ireland. So that doesn't matter where you are, then you can kind of just navigate through them. So
Sure.
I'll just go into a recent hotel that we did in Ohio. Actually, this one isn't a great one. That's just a small area. But you can see kind of, then you can navigate through this and communicate as well through this. Then we have our snag listing system, which would be these tags that we can do. So they can just say test tag here. And you can then tag certain people or individuals directly to that, have a code to it. We also have things around we do a lot of things with asset registers and maintaining assets. So, even maintenance date, if that thing has to have be maintained every year or every 2 months, how much warranty is left on the asset, all those things just to keep track of them. And then you can just tag whatever it is you want to tag.
It could be a valve or something.
Valve, yeah, something, anything like that. And then you can also feed data through through these tags then. So if you have if you want to check the valve remotely or whatever it might be, if you have data running through that to be able to see what that valve is doing, if it's open or closed, for example, then you can click on this, and then it'll be able to show you what's going on with that valve. So that's kind of it. And then we also have then with that, then you have our stores. So we deliver a lot of different could be drawing sets or Revit models or CAD drawings and all the rest of it, or quantity models, and then you can do that all through the software as well. So everyone who's logged in then has access to all that data from one place. So you're not, we have a lot of clients that they're sending data to, they're sending the same drawing set to 20 different stakeholders, or they're they don't have the drawings, they don't know where they put it in their email. This guy has it on his USB and that guy has it on his this. So, to have that all consolidated into one area, and then being able to manage, if you've a lot of different either facilities or projects going on, to be able to manage all of those projects through the one interfaces, and being able to have all that 3D data and all the visual data on top of that is very helpful then.
So, so does it track, like, if you needed to isolate, let's say like a pipeline, let's say you have a rack of 5 pipelines in the same rack going, could you isolate each line with this?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, wouldn't be an issue. Yeah, you just I can't see that being an issue at all. You could just isolate each one or whatever you'd want to do with each of them, and then tag them up or do whatever you wanted.
So this will, it'll grab what's there at that moment, but you also talked about having, let's say, like a digital twin. Is it tracking always, or it's grabbing it as you
it depends. Obviously, like the model that you're seeing now, this is as it's shot as of let's say March 25th, 2023. But to kind of, you don't want to be re-scanning these places all the time. There's no real need, because let's say the whole facility is going to stay the same. For example, the walls are going to be the same, everything in it's kind of the same. And then you use the tags to kind of show any differences. So, for example, maybe if there's a new piece of equipment shown in, you just tag it, take a picture of it, and then when you come in here, it'll say new equipment, and then it'll have a picture of the new equipment or whatever it is, fitted on whatever date, and then you can work through it that way. Or you can do if you're talking about maybe a live data feed. So
so let's say over here, let's say they remove this desk thing over here, this wood. So you take a picture of it with it being changed and upload the file.
So as you can see here in the title, you can wood removed, and then you can upload a file, so a picture to that, and then you can just say the tag, and then you can click on that. So then when someone goes over to it and clicks on it, it's going to say wood is removed, and then it'll have, when you go to the files, it'll have the image of that area being that the wood has been removed, and then you can make a few comments on it saying, okay, great. And then, for example, say if you wanted then to mark that as being completed, then you could say, come in here and then say, because you've got the image saying, showing you the confirmation that being done, you can come in here then as maybe a project manager, mark is complete, and then you have your little green tick that signals that to you.
Okay.
That's good,
I think that's a great little walkthrough, and I'll tie that into what we got going there for the interview.
Sure. Sounds good.
After 40 people production.